Here we go. Good morning, everybody. And here we are. And you just heard me play a song called Colonel Bogey March. And many of you will remember that from the movie, The Bridge on the River Kwai. I think that was the name of it. And people would think that was the name of the song, the River Kwai theme. But actually, it was called Colonel Bogey. And I'm going to give you the backstory on it, which is very interesting. That was written by a guy by the name of Lieutenant F.J. Ricketts. His pen name was Kenneth Alford. He was a military man in the British Army. He composed it in 1914. And here's how that song came about. Many of you know about golf. I know literally very little about it, except I do know par is the number of strokes it takes you to hit the ball into the hole over one numbered hole, I guess. If you go under by one, it's called a birdie. And if you go over by one, it's called a bogey. Now, in golf, if you hit your golf ball and it's an errant shot and it's not going exactly where you thought it was going to go, and you fear people up front of you are going to get hit in the head with the ball, you'd yell out, 4. Well, there was a British, also a military man who was a golfer. And when he hit an errant ball, instead of yelling 4, he would whistle this. Can you hear that? That's the 2 notes that starts off Colonel Bogey. And it was based on that little whistle that the song was written. And I played the whole song. I played the little interlude between the main themes there. So there you go. You got educated a little bit. And I guess we could call this cultural enrichment time. All right. Now, where do you go on the internet or TV and you want to hear an interview show and the interviewer comes on, plays a horn that incidentally was made in 1915 and it still works great, or the interviewer comes on, plays a song, gives you a little history, gives you a little bit of enlightenment. Where do you go? I'll tell you where you go. You're right here to Life After Scientology. And my name is Ron Miscavige. And good morning, everybody. I'm very happy to have you on and listen to our hour of enlightenment. I guess it's entertaining also, but it really is for the purpose of enlightening people on the Church of Scientology at this point. Okay? So now, before we get into the show itself, and I have a very special guest on, you love her because she is one of the brightest people I know. She has insight into many things, and she's lived the life. She's not talking about something she read in a book. But let's cover a little business here because we have some people who became patrons, and I want to acknowledge you and thank you very much. We have an Odella Levy, $2. Odella, thank you very much appreciated. Dana Mueller, $1. Dana, thank you very much, and thank you. There's a double thank you for that. Karen Webster, also $1. Thank you very much, Karen. And P, it's Sermonti or just maybe Sermont, and that's $2. So P. Sermont, thank you very much, and I welcome all of you to become a patron. This is it's a way to help support this show because we don't have a sponsor and we don't have any angel who's paying any expenses for us or paying us money to do this. I do it out of love and duty I spent 42 years in the Church of Scientology, 26 and a half years on staff. And this is something I'm doing to enlighten people so they just don't get hooked in and ruin their lives to that degree. Anyway, without any further words, except for putting away my horn, please welcome a dear old friend, Karen de la Carriere. Good morning, Karen.
Hello, Ron. Hello, everybody.
Hey. Well, we have a very interesting subject this morning, and we're going to talk about Tom Cruise. Let me get this right here. So maybe, why don't we start it off with his birthday party that was held on the Free Winds? But you know what, Karen? I'm going to turn it over to you. Go before that to give us a little backdrop on this about Tom and about celebrities, but especially Tom.
You know, people just shake their heads in disbelief as one horror story after another comes out. They just can't fathom how people like you and me could be in this cult for 40 years. It just doesn't add up. They don't understand it. They certainly don't understand why Tom Cruise would be a shill promoting the cult. So let me educate the audience in this. Scientology has different versions or editions. If you are simply paying public, you go in there, you give them some money, you sit and you get counseling, or you do some training. That's called being public. You're not on staff. The rules and regulations are relatively minor, and that's called being public. Right. Now, there's another level where you're being staff, much more controlled, but you're not C organization. You don't live on campus. You go home to your bed at night. You can watch TV, and you work long hours. And usually you have to sign 5-year contracts.
Karen, let me interrupt you just for 1 second. Mm-hmm. You mentioned staff. Where do these staff live? I mean, where would you find what you'd call a staff member?
They usually live in communal, like one house and 14 staff members live there. They just live in little houses relatively close to a brick and mortar outfit called a church.
Okay.
These are little satellite, usually starving and failing orgs. They're called orgs, O-R-G-S, organizations.
I got it.
Right? Yeah. But they're not Sea Org bases. Sea organization means you sign a billion-year contract. The cult is in reincarnation, you must come back, and for the next billion years, you must serve Scientology. Now, this is where it's brutal. And this is where you have no power of choice. You can't even use scented soap or perfume. You are controlled down to what you wear. You can't even have your own bedspread or comforter. You have to have a uniform. You're a complete uniform blob. You take orders. Now, it is a kind of a camaraderie family. When you first go in, all these people, you know, they're all going through the same thing, and you feel you're in a nest. As the years progress, it gets worse and worse and worse. So that's one level. So there's public, there's staff, and then there's the brutal, horrific Sea organization. And then there's celebrities. Now, that is a whole different version of Scientology. There's an office called the President's Office at Celebrity Center. And there's an army of people that cater and pamper to your every women fancy. And you start feeling like, wow. Think of having a concierge to help you at a Hilton. Think of 100 concierge just waiting outside your door. Can we get you a car, sir? Would you like a special hot breakfast served in your room? Can we bring a 5-star chef to your home to prepare you sushi? This is so. The Tom Cruise and the John Travoltas of the world have experienced a Scientology completely different to what you and I have, Ron, and what the general public have.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I've been at that president's office. I know what you're talking about. And they cater to it. I'll tell you, it's like living in a dream, because in a dream, anything you want, you can just get like that. You're dreaming, you know. But that's the life of a celebrity, as compared to, as you just pointed out, a public person who just buys services, a staff member, or a Sea Org member. And that's a good comparison, because now we have it divided into separate slots. So now we're going to pinpoint this on the celebrities this morning, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I'm anxious to get on with it. And I'm going to just turn it over to you. And are we going to start off with this birthday party? Do you want to start?
You see, I wanted to let me give 3 examples of how Tom Cruise is treated unbelievably like royalty. He had a birthday a few years ago, and Ron, I really want you to chime in on, because you were there. You were right there. He had a birthday which was the party was on a Scientology ship called Free Winds. That's another horror ship where people flee from and are sentenced to the engine room. Again, the celebrity doesn't know that a few decks down from him are young girls in complete slave labor.
Yeah.
All right. So Tom Cruise has a birthday, and this birthday cost $400,000. Tax-free, IRS, 501c3, $400,000 to pamper the celebrity of Tom Cruise.
That birthday party didn't go on for a week. That was in the evening, and I think the band, which I headed up the band. I think we played 10 numbers, and of course there was dancing after that. And I'll tell you one little inside thing. I don't know if you'd bring this up, but Mark Headley mentioned that he had to get all of Tom Cruise's movies in the most precise reproduction that he could, take cuts out of them, and play these on the screen, little cuts out of it, no sound, just the pics, while the band played the numbers. So he had to produce 10 videos that would go with what we were playing. I mean,
I heard about that. I know that Tom Cruise loved a certain type of sushi, Japanese sushi. So they flew the whole restaurant and all the chefs. They recreated it on Free Winds to pamper Tom's taste for that. But
wait a minute. How about the cost of the equipment? Because that equipment was supposed to go back. This is right after a maiden voyage anniversary cruise. Mm-hmm. And normally we get this equipment for so many days. And after the last day, it's like a nightmare. Everybody is up for at least 24 hours straight, rolling up all of the lines of communication, all the gear, packing it in boxes and getting it back to the company. Now, because this was going to go on and they were going to use all that equipment, they called the company and said, look, can we have this for another week? Now, listen to this, Karen. You have equipment that's going to cost, that maybe is costing you a couple $100,000, and you call the company that's renting it to you and you say you need it for another week. They have you and they're going to stick it to you. And that alone ran up the bill to almost $400,000. The fact that we had to keep it that much longer. Anyway, back to you. But I wanted to give you that little bit of an inside thing there.
But you see, Ron, this is I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Okay.
The celebrities are pampered. Why? They want them to go on television and say, Scientology is wonderful.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't do without it. I'm enlightened. I'm educated.
Yep.
It's a complete and utter buying favors with celebs to endorse the cult.
Yep. Well, you have a birthday party like that thrown for you. And I can remember the exact moment. The place where we played was the Starlight Cabaret, and there was a door that led you to this white little green room. Everything was white in there. The La Paloma was called. And as soon as that door opened, the band had to come right in, boom, on the number and start playing. And it was, I think it was Mission Impossible, if my memory serves me. I could be wrong, but that was one of the songs we played. And he walked into this thing, and we put on this show that I look back at it and think it's insanity to spend that much money for one evening. I mean, all the preps, like the band, we worked our ass off getting that show ready. Maybe a lot of guys going without any sleep so they could copy music parts and stuff. But there was a deadline that was a drop dead deadline. You couldn't say, we're going to put it off for a day. We had to be ready. So when that door opened up, we were ready to go. Anyway.
Well, you see, I think actually I have a video clip of this party and Tom dancing on my YouTube channel. It's called Tom Cruise Birthday Party. But here's where it really, really shows the difference between Joe Schmo and Tom Cruise. Tom had ended off with his last girlfriend, and the Church of Scientology Sea Org members who signed their $1 billion in a religious commitment acted as a dating service or a pimping service to find Tom Cruise a sexual partner. And 40 pretty women, 40 of the most beautiful women in Scientology were made to audition and video, and they were lied to and told, we're videoing you because you might be getting a part in a forthcoming movie with Tom Cruise. You might be the actress you've always wanted to be. So 40 women videotaped for him. And then Sea Org members went through the videos to get the top 10, the top 5, the top 3 to submit to Tom. And all this was supervised by Religious Technology Center. See how ecclesiastical. This whole thing got exploded in a magazine called Vanity Fair. It went viral. And a girl was selected, and Greg Wilhare flew to New York, and new wardrobe was bought from her. She was ordered by Tom Cruise to have a couple of teeth shaved down. I believe her incisors. She was ordered to change the color of her hair and so on. Anyway, it lasted 3 months and the whole thing blew up.
And then she was put in a Dex, right?
But what? Yes, yes. She was made to clean toilets with a toothbrush. She fell into disfavor. But what Scientologist is treated like this?
Yeah.
When is the cult a dating service for your sexual partner? For Tom Cruise, yes, yes. And then you know what he does? He does those incredible statements about David Miscavige. I have met the leaders of leaders. We are lucky to have you, sir. Tom Cruise knew exactly what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's a public relations professional. He used these high voltage words to get the audience and Scientologists to think, oh, wow, Cruise finds your son, David Miscavige, the leader of leaders. and Tom Cruise gives a Navy salute to him. Like,
I know. This was when he received his Medal of Valor, when he gave his
Medal of Valor.
success story on stage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Medal of Valor.
Oh, I remember it well. And
Miscavige said that he has, what did he say? That he's way better than any Scientologist?
he's
That
the most dedicated
he's
Scientologist.
the most dedicated Scientologist on planet
In other
Earth.
words, even better than people who work sometimes 24 hours a day for days on end.
Yes.
Work ass to the bone for nothing. That's not
Yes.
as dedicated as Tom Cruise, who will
Right.
say some things, and then the other part of the time he's living a life of luxury. That's dedication. I don't know about it.
Right. Yeah. Do you remember? I think you were at the base, Ron, when Tom Cruise had a fantasy of holding Nicole Kidman's hand and running through wildflowers.
Yes, I was at the base. I was at the base, and I saw the Gold crew, and well, it's always Gold who would do the dirty work there,
Mhm.
because we had the most number of people. And you talk about dedicated. I mean, you're not going to get more dedicated than this. Everybody went, and they had an entire field planted with flowers, and so that Tom and Nicole could run through that.
Didn't they stay up all night to plant these wildflowers?
Absolutely, it was just a real nightmare. This wasn't a singular incident, but it was one of them. And then for some
then
reason, the thing didn't work out, and he didn't like it, so it was okay. Forget it. That's it. You know.
No, I heard that the flowers, that Miscavige didn't like the flowers, and they had to be pulled out and redone. They were up all night with sleep deprivation.
Yeah.
To let Tom Cruise have a fantasy of running through a field with wildflowers, holding Nicole's hand. See, this is what I mean by the celebrity life in Scientology, where you get room service. A counselor comes to your home with the e-meter, and in the privacy of your bedroom or living room, you get the church counseling. The handling of celebrities is very orchestrated.
Yeah.
To get enough bang for the buck, to get those celebrity endorsements.
Yep. I guess you could compare them to the nobles in France, and being a house guest with the noble, with all his servants and amenities. And meanwhile, down in the dungeon, you have people working down there or chained to a wall, which is your Sea Org members, and not necessarily the staff, but the staff are close to that, but not like Sea Org. Sea Org it's a horror. And you know, you say they're the most dedicated. Most Sea Org members are there because they actually think by disseminating L. Ron Hubbard's technology, they're going to help every man, woman, and child on the planet. And nothing could be further than the truth. But the celebrity, he doesn't want to know about this stuff. All he knows is that he's getting papered, he's being pampered, he's being treated like a, well, I'll give you an example. I went to New York to do an interview. This is about 3 months ago. And across the street from the hotel, there was a place that had condominiums. One of the ladies living there was paying $10,000 a month for her condominium rent, okay? Or whatever it is. She had a dog. The dog was going to have a birthday, and she invited people to attend her dog's birthday party down the street at a dog park.
Yeah.
100 people showed up with dogs dressed in birthday outfits, and that dog was the birthday party. What the fuck is this? That lady, when that dog would be the way our celebrities are.
In New York, your dog can be picked up for $200 a night and live in a dog hotel. It gets steak twice a day, filet mignon steak. They have mobile cars. New York businessmen go out of town, and their dog needs to be $200 a night
Wow.
You know, most humans would try for 150 if they could at a Marriott. But you can, yes, New York is a trip. But back to Tom Cruise. See, I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It's not that just Tom Cruise, John Travolta are in the cult of Scientology. The big question is, how come in 30 years there are no new A-lister, big, huge celebrities that join the church? That's the question. I'll tell you why. It's career suicide. Scientology cult, it has an odor now. You have to hold your nose when you and walk by. It smells, it stinks of shenanigans and bad deeds and kidnap and held against will. It's a horror story. Mm-hmm.
No, you're right. It like in my day-to-day activities, occasionally I'll meet somebody and Church of Scientology come up. And until I say, well, listen, I wrote a book on as an expose, then they'll open up and say, well, they'll tell you, that's the worst goddamn church I've ever seen. I mean, this is their actual opinion. But to be polite, and I live in Wisconsin, people won't just openly badmouth it until they find out where you stand. And at that point, I've yet to meet one person who said to me, why did you write a book? They're a very nice outfit. Every single to the person knows the truth about it, because the internet, the toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah. I think that one of the features of Tom Cruise is that he has sort of become a little bit almost copying or emulating your son, David Miscavige. Have you seen some of the videos with arrogance?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I saw that one where he was interviewed by an Australian.
Peter Overton. Yeah.
And on that,
get your manners in. Get your ethics in.
The way Tom says, now, you've stepped over the line. You've stepped over the line, and you know it. Get your manners in. In other words, admonishing him like a little school kid, and he's the school master. And I'll tell you, you talk about arrogance right out in the open.
Well, the most famous one, Ron, is the Matt Lauer interview, where he truly is acting like Miscavige. Matt, you're glib. You don't even know you don't even know what Ritalin is. Yeah. Why haven't you done your research? Humiliating him on national. Yeah, I think that was the point where Tom's credibility went down.
Yeah.
Down. He told Matt Lauer, I know the history of psychiatry. You don't. So this combativeness in your face, you know, you little peon, you minion. I am so much more superior. I have so much more knowledge than you. Yeah. I have so much more truth than you. That was, to me, that was more shocking than jumping on Oprah Winfrey's couch.
Yeah, you're right. And I'll tell you, people just don't like arrogance. They just don't like it. It sticks in their throat. I mean, you can see this. Look, the Nazis, even if they didn't do any of the bad things that they did, which they're the most horrible group that ever existed, people didn't like the arrogance of them. They were arrogant, you know.
But don't you, because do you agree that Tom Cruise sort of became?
Yes, I do. Oh,
the mannerisms, the attitude, the arrogance, the haughty-taughty.
It's like he's a senior official in the Sea Organization talking to another Sea Org member and he's a public person and he's talking to a public person, but he has almost that air about him where he can admonish another person and you can't do anything about it. Because in the Sea Org, if your senior were to say something to you, you have no comeback. You can't say, hey, what the fuck are you talking about? No. There's no way you can do that. You have to go along with it. Yes, sir. No, sir. And Tom has that attitude. But as you pointed out, I don't hear many public things from here recently. As a matter of fact, I don't remember anything the last thing, any time recently that he said anything even. Maybe you do.
Well, Tom Cruise doesn't do any interviews talking about the church anymore. I think he announced that on any question, he refers them to go buy a book. I think it's dawned on him that he was thrown out of Paramount Studios. He was no longer allowed to have, when he went overboard on Scientology on one of the tours of a film, Paramount Studios actually kicked Tom Cruise off their base in Hollywood.
Now, I do remember that, and I'm glad you brought it up, because that's something that is not ever talked about much. How exactly did that happen? He wasn't fired by Paramount, was he? He was just kicked off the base.
What he did is, I forget the name of the movie. There was a movie, a sort of a sci-fi movie, and Tom was insisting on massive promotion while he did the media tour for the movie. And this really, really riled the head. In other words, he was now using the expenses and the glamour and the promotion of the movie to promote Scientology as much as the movie.
Wow.
And Paramount had enough, and he was ignominiously kicked off the base, and he was no longer allowed to have an office on the lot of Paramount.
But did they then say to him, "You no longer have a contract"? Was he fired or just kicked off the base?
I don't know about the contracts. I don't have knowledge of that. Now, he was a multi-million-dollar earner in movies, so it was a big deal. I have never heard of any movie star being told to close down his office and get off the property. That must have been really humiliating to Tom. But he didn't learn. He kept
that is a kick in the teeth, not in the ass. It's like somebody kicking you in your face, you know?
I mean, I live in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I live walking distance from Hollywood Boulevard. I can walk to Sunset Boulevard. And I'm invited to a lot of Hollywood parties, screenings of movies and this and that. This is unheard of, to be kicked off a major studio. And this is truly unprecedented in Hollywood.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, he moved to Clearwater recently. Did you know that? Well, he has a property there. He didn't physically move, but he's intending to have a summer house or whatever in Clearwater.
In other words, he's having the top 2 floors of a building they own turned into a penthouse that will be his private penthouse.
Yes.
And he'll have his own private elevator going to it. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then how about his car? Will they take the car up to the 7th floor or whatever it is? Or I don't know. I mean, it could be anything. Anything goes when you're talking about how the church pampers celebrities. But he's the most pampered as far as I know.
His daughter was recently featured on the Tony Ortega blog as promoting and shilling for people to join staff at London Org.
Right.
This is an adopted daughter, right?
Yeah.
And then he has a son who's now engaged to a staff member of Bel Air Mission. So unhappily for Nicole, Tom has drawn his adopted children right into being very much inner circle of staff. And now can you blame Katie for taking Suri and running?
No, I can't. Matter of fact, the way she did it was very clever, because he was helpless to do anything the way she got away from him. And
yeah,
now,
the The divorce papers were served like an ambush. He had no idea the whole thing was, it was a shock and a surprise. She didn't discuss it with him. He just got the divorce papers served.
Wow. Okay. And now that's it for Suri. For sure, she's not going to. Well, how old is Suri now? About 7 or 8 years old?
Oh, no, she's older. I think she's about 11.
Wow. The time goes.
11, yeah.
The time goes. And has Tom seen her recently, I wonder?
Well, the tabloids say Tom hasn't seen her in years, but who knows?
Yeah, I know.
Tabloids. It was Tom Cruise's wedding in Italy in a castle. Talk about renting something.
Yeah.
So this ancient medieval castle was rented for the wedding. And that's when Leah Remini had this famous question, where is Shelley? Shelley is your daughter-in-law.
I know.
Give me two, three.
And I know what Tommy Davis said, but go ahead.
No. You chime in. I'm talking a lot.
That's okay, because this is your show, and I'm very happy you come on, because you have an angle on a lot of these things and a perspective that I don't think of sometimes. So you tell the story.
But can I just ask you this?
Yeah, go ahead.
As the father-in-law of Shelley, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you that. How did you view Shelley? As a wife to your son and as a Sea Org member? Talk to me.
Okay. Well, look I always got along with Shelley, and we had, I would say, a special relationship because I was David's father. I mean, you can't deny that. You can't pretend it was otherwise. And we would get together, not a lot, but there were occasions when we'd get together. Mostly they were little sessions as how I should act because I'm David's father. In other words, because I have the name Miscavige and I'm his father, I have to be better than other staff members. I have to be more in line with his orders and make sure that I don't do anything that would bring shame on him. And even though she was my daughter-in-law, it wasn't the same as with my other daughters, their husbands. I mean, you know, I'd call them by their first name. We just have a good time together. And there was always that borderline thing. Okay, Ron, now I know you're David's father, but you are a Sea Org member. And that's how I was treated primarily and foremost as a Sea Org member, and how I should behave and act because I was David's father. Now, as far as her treating me, she did treat me nice. And one of the things she would do, which I always appreciated, I was on the ship on the maiden voyage every June, and Father's Day fell on one of those Saturdays or Fridays, and she would always bring down a present from David for me. It was my Father's Day gift, and she was assigned to do it. That was very nice of her. It was a nice little touch. But between those few and far between touches, there was the life of a Sea Org member, and I had no comeback saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm Dave's father." If I would say that, I would have gotten my fucking teeth kicked in. I don't mean physically, but verbally. Like when the band went in the bilges, I was down there with them, working in like 130-degree heat, with a bit of a problem with my heart in those days, and it didn't matter that I was David's father. I had to go down there. As a matter of fact, the engineers are the ones who would bring me up and say, "Listen, come out of there. Just go down there every once in a while." They wanted to take care of me more than my orders were to be down there. So that was my relationship with her. It was close, but not really as a daughter-in-law, more or less as a friend who's advising me how to act because I'm David's father. Did that cover it for you?
Yeah. Okay. I knew Shelley on the ship, of course, the Apollo.
Yeah.
And she was quite a withdrawn. She was a little bit younger than the other messengers, and she was kind of left out because she was known to be what they call stuck up.
A what?
Stuck up.
Oh, stuck up.
Stuck up just means snooty. I think she was just shy, but I do have enormous being banished
It's horrible.
with a bodyguard, and
I
she
mean,
lives. Yeah,
and Shelley, that's all the life she knew. L. Ron
yeah,
Hubbard was her father, mentor, everything, and now she's stuck away in some hiding place, probably the one on up by Lake Arrowhead.
yeah.
Probably, I don't know. But I know that's where she was sent originally. And what the hell kind of a life is that? She doesn't. Nobody deserves that. And the fact that she backed up David for all those years, because I will tell you this: you couldn't get a better wife to back you up than Shelley was to David. No matter what, he was her primary purpose of backing up L. Ron Hubbard, because David took over where L. Ron Hubbard left off. Anyway, go on.
Well, talking about Shelley backing up your son David, the Mark Fisher tells the story of how David Miscavige punched him and bloodied his nose and punched him again, and Shelley took out, this was a first aid kit she carried around with her, hydrogen peroxide, cotton swabs. She had it all ready, which gave you the idea. She assumed David was going to punch and beat up someone because she had, she immediately handled his bloody nose. Anyway,
who carries a first aid kit around with them? All right. Do you? I don't know of anybody. I mean, I carry a snake bite kit, but I have every reason for that.
powder, snake bite?
I'm kidding, of course.
Oh, okay.
You know, these little suction cups and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who carry everything with them. And yeah, but who would carry a first aid kit?
Right.
Anyway, yeah, Shelley did back him up. But getting back to Leah, that was a pretty interesting scene there with Tommy Davis.
Well, Leah asked, where is Shelley? And Tommy Davis, the former spokesman, erupted. You don't have the effing rank to ask a question like that.
Yeah.
This is in the matrix, the hierarchy.
Yeah.
The big fish eats the little fish.
Yeah.
And the big fish has dominance.
Oh, yeah.
You can't address or speak to the big fish in an unauthorized manner. Yeah.
Well, that statement that he made to her was the beginning of her ending her relationship with Scientology.
Yeah.
She ended up going to the Flag Land Base to get.
She was ordered. She was ordered, and she had to have the truth rundown, that infamous RPF rundown, for 300 hours. 300 hours. Anyway, back to Tom Cruise. Do you know Valeska Paris?
She was on the ship, wasn't she?
She was imprisoned on free winds for 12 years. A prisoner on free winds for 12 years.
Sorry,
because her mother had spoken out about Scientology on French TV. And they wanted to be quite sure she was separated from her mother. So she was there. Anyway, she served Tom Cruise as a waitress on free winds. And at the time she served him, she had a cold sore. You know, this little pimple one, they call it a cold sore, a little erupted pimple. Anyway, from Valeska, because she dared to be in the presence of Tom Cruise, serving him food while she had this cold sore, this viral pimple, she was kicked off her job and sentenced to hard labor in the engine room. There are reports that people cleaning and working in the engine room with the limited oxygen and I don't know what fumes occur, they actually dope off and go unconscious. They literally fall asleep. It could be because of the number of hours of hard labor that you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
When you're on hard labor, you've got to stand on your feet and clean or scrape or do whatever for 14 hours a day. That's CO punishment. Little did Tom Cruise know that the girl who served him food subsequently had to work till she went unconscious in free winds because she had a little cold sore. This is what I mean by the way people are treated regarding a celebrity. It's unconscionable.
By the way, Karen, have you ever been in the engine room?
On Apollo, not free winds.
Okay, but you know what it's like down there.
Oh God.
It is a fucking horror. It is terrible. And if you're not in top physical shape, yeah, you can pass out. I very well see that happening to anybody. And for a woman to be forced to work down there is unconscionable. But now, get this. What state of mind must you be in to think that putting a person down there is going to rehabilitate him and then say, oh boy, now I really learned my lesson. I want to be a good boy. I want to listen to everybody and follow all orders. You must be out of your fucking mind to think that that is going to change somebody for the better. You literally must be insane. Yet it goes on all the time. And even L. Ron Hubbard, in an earlier policy letter that he wrote called An Essay on Management, he says in there, punishment drive has never worked. What works is the person receiving its own willingness to do it. Punishment drive lowers it. It's never worked. Yet it's done as a tool to rehabilitate somebody into doing your bidding. Shall I tell you what it does? It makes people like me say, you know what? Fuck you. I left. Here I am. I'm doing a show exposing them. That's what it made me do. Okay. And you take many other people who have been on this show, like Mark Headley or Mike Rinder, who's done the show. He does the show with Leah. That's what it makes you do.
Beautifully spoken. Beautifully. Yeah. I'm so glad you brought this up. This is the heart and soul of the matter. Yeah. There is no kindness in the cult of Scientology. There is no mercy. There is no understanding, affinity, talking to you, working it out, trying to raise you upward. It's soul crushing. It's, I'm going to smash you to pulp cult. It's, I will punish you so much, I will electrify you and jolt you out of your stupidness, you donkey. Scientology is famous for its cruelty, but what you just said was beautiful. It's the attempt is to make you into a dot, make you into a subatomic particle, smaller than a dot. And that's what the RPF did to me. I was in that prison camp. The intention is to just destroy your soul. All baloney that it's there to make you a raise you higher spiritually. The idea is to crush you so that you don't even have the stamina to answer back.
No, you're right, Karen, and that's the heart of the matter. That, like, disconnection. Now, why would you want to make a father and mother not have the enjoyment of their children's communication, or make a child continue their communication with their mother or father, or a brother or sister, or friends? What could be behind all that to make something so gruesome that you would do anything to change it? And that anything would be going to the church and doing what's called A to E. These are steps that you do, that you have to do in order to get back in good standing. And one of them was to admit that everything that you said was wrong. The church was right in every aspect, and you're sorry you offended them. It's not those exact words, but I'm just giving you an understanding. You have to say it was all my fault. I am sorry. I beg your forgiveness. Even though you treated me like a piece of shit for years, you forced me to do this and to do that. I had no beingness of my own. All my talents were made little of. I was denigrated. But in spite of that, my leaving was because I'm a bad person, and you, church, are good and holy, and I beg your forgiveness. It's that fucking bad. This may sound like a joke that I'm talking to you about, but it is that bad.
If anyone is even thinking about entering a Church of Scientology, I was in 40 years, Ron was in 45 years, whatever.
42.
42 years. Let me tell you, you do so at your own risk.
Yeah.
Your money will be vampire suctioned out of you, every last drop. I just got a tragic story of a girl who just could not say no. Youngish girl. She let herself be money extorted till she had nothing left. She was actually living in her car. All her money was gone. Every asset she has was gone. And then she shot and killed herself.
Wow.
And she was dead, suicide. But Scientology, of course, had all her money. This kind of horror story that people write, because of my YouTube channel, I get email from all over the world constantly. It's one horror story after another. So be warned.
Well, I'll tell you, you're doing your bit, and I'm trying to do my bit, and that is to enlighten people. And, you know, I appreciate you coming on, Karen, because you, as I said earlier in the show, you have an insight that is unique, and I'm sure that people hearing you, because we get a lot of people who enjoy your coming on and feel they've been enlightened, and some of the people say I should have you on every week.
Ron, I was in a matrix. I was a dope. I don't necessarily consider myself learned. You know, I was in the bubble. I was in the tunnel.
Yeah.
And even as a straight A student academically, I was bamboozled. I was fooled. As were you.
Yeah, as I was. I remember when I started turning the corner, I was talking to Fernando Gamboa, who's a friend of mine. He still is a friend, but he was a very dear friend when we were in the Sea Org. And after I had left, we were talking one day, and he said, Ronnie, let's face it, we were conned. And for some reason that hit me. And after I got finished talking to him, I looked in a mirror and I said, he's right. I was conned. And it was at that point that I started looking on the internet to find out things about L. Ron Hubbard. I found his affirmations, which if you haven't seen these, you should. It's L. Ron Hubbard's affirmations and various stories about him, about taking his daughter to Cuba as a way to get his wife at the time to do something that he wanted her to do. I mean, and this is the guy who formed the religion. But his charisma when he would give lectures was incredible, and it hooked me, and I'm sure it hooked you in many ways, the same ways it did me and a lot of other people. And then once you get hooked in and you have all this indoctrination on a daily basis because you have to study every day, they keep the con going by that. And well, here we are. We're doing something about it.
Maybe we should do a show on the affirmations. And show how that translates into the current way the Sea Org runs.
I'll tell you, Karen, that is
all men shall be my slaves.
That's a hell of an idea, because we're running out of time. Sean, how are we fixed on time?
5 minutes.
Okay, we don't have time to go into it now. Let's do that, Karen. Let's do a show on the affirmations, and we can take those apart, and you can see it. As a matter of fact, there you go. See, you come up with an idea that I wouldn't have thought about. because out of that, you can see how Scientology is run and how the Sea Organization is run, how heartless it is, and using celebrities. Fantastic idea. I love it. Well, look at, let's start wrapping it up now because I know our witching hour is coming up. I'll do a little business, and if you wouldn't mind waiting a second. If you're not a patron, I really would appreciate you joining and giving a little bit of support to help the ongoingness of the show. And I coined that word. I love it. Ongoingness. We don't have a sponsor. That means I can do anything I want. I can have guests on to talk about anything. There's nobody saying, well, you can't say this, you can't say that. No, those days are over. I'm here to enlighten you, to help you not get caught up on it, caught up in Scientology, and maybe lead a way better life because of that. Not maybe, for sure. So I welcome you to join and become a patron and keep looking at these shows. Karen, I'm going to have you back. And those of you who are subscribers, watch your emails because we'll send you out a notice that when this show is going to be. Karen, do you have anything to say before we end?
Well, it's always nice to hang with you on a Sunday morning. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Ron. Bye-bye, and we'll see you again.
Okay, and for me, I am Ron Miscavige. This is Life After Scientology. I'll see you on the next episode.